In 2007, Nokia controlled 50% of the global phone market. Half of every phone sold on Earth had their logo on it. They were the most valuable company in Europe. Analysts called them unbeatable. 7 years later, Nokia's phone business was sold for scraps to Microsoft for $7.2 billion. Less than the value of the cash sitting in Nokia's bank account at the time. This is the story of how the company that owned the future of mobile phones missed it completely. Before Nokia made phones, it made paper, then rubber boots, then cables. A Finnish industrial company that for decades had nothing to do with telecommunications at all. That changed in the 1990s. Nokia bet everything on a strange new idea, that mobile phones wouldn't just be for businessmen and emergency calls. They'd be for everyone. It paid off spectacularly. The Nokia 3310 became one of the best-selling phones in history. Practically indestructible, simple, cheap enough for the developing world, durable enough to survive being dropped, thrown, or, as internet legend insists, run over by a truck. By the early 2000s, Nokia wasn't just a phone company. It was a cultural fixture. Snake, customizable ringtones. That startup chime, everyone on Earth could recognize in half a second. They had engineering talent, manufacturing scale, and a brand that meant reliability. On paper, no competitor stood a chance. In 2004, 3 years before the iPhone existed, Nokia engineers built something remarkable. A touchscreen phone with a large display, internet browsing, and an app-like interface. Internally, some employees believed they were years ahead of anyone else in the industry. It never shipped as imagined. Internal politics, conflicting product priorities, and a company structure built around hardware manufacturing, not software, meant the project stalled. The teams who understood where the future was headed didn't have the power to act on it. Nokia's strength had always been making phones at massive scale, cheaply, reliably. That strength was about to become a weakness. When Steve Jobs walked on stage and unveiled the iPhone, the reaction inside Nokia, by multiple accounts, was not alarms. It was skepticism. No physical keyboard. A battery life that seemed laughably short next to Nokia's multi-day devices. A price tag far above what Nokia's mass-market customers were used to paying. To engineers who'd spent years optimizing for durability and battery efficiency, the iPhone looked like a fragile toy for early adopters, not a threat to the empire. Nokia kept doing what had always worked, iterating on hardware, pushing out new handset models, defending market share with volume. What they underestimated wasn't the hardware. It was the software, and the idea that a phone could become a platform while Apple built an ecosystem. The App Store, a unified operating system, developer tools that turned the iPhone into something millions of outside companies wanted to build on. Nokia stayed loyal to Symbian, an aging operating system that had powered their dominance for years but was buckling under modern demands. Symbian was fragmented across devices, difficult for developers to build for. Updates were slow. Meanwhile, Android arrived in 2008, offering manufacturers, including Nokia's competitors, a free, flexible, rapidly improving alternative. Nokia had the engineers. It had the money, billions in cash reserves. What it didn't have was speed. Decisions that needed to happen in months took years. By the time leadership recognized Symbian was a liability, the operating system war was already being lost. In 2011, new CEO Stephen Elop, Nokia's first non-Finnish chief executive, sent an internal memo that leaked to the press almost immediately. He compared Nokia's situation to a man standing on a burning oil platform, forced to make an impossible choice: stay and burn, or jump into icy water and hope to survive. The decision: abandon Symbian entirely and partner with Microsoft, building future phones on Windows Phone instead. It was a bet that Microsoft's software, paired with Nokia's hardware, could create a credible third ecosystem to rival Apple and Android. The bet failed. Windows Phone never built the developer or consumer momentum it needed. App makers had limited incentive to build for a third platform when Android and iOS already covered the overwhelming majority of users. Nokia had jumped off the burning platform directly into a smaller, colder one. Market share that had once stood near 50% kept eroding year after year. Revenue fell. Layoffs followed. Tens of thousands of jobs cut across Nokia's global operations as the company tried to stabilize. In 2013, Microsoft acquired Nokia's mobile phone business for roughly $7.2 billion. For a company once worth well over $250 billion at its peak, it was a quiet, almost anticlimactic ending to the consumer phone empire it had built. The Nokia name didn't disappear completely. It found a second life in network infrastructure and, later, licensed to other manufacturers for budget phones. But the company that once defined an entire era of mobile technology had exited the business that made it a household name. The strange part of Nokia's story isn't that they were blindsided. They saw the touchscreen future years before Apple did. They had the cash, the talent, and the market position to dominate the smartphone era before it even started. What they didn't have when it mattered most was the speed to act on what they already knew.